Hello and welcome back. This week I'm a little bit extra pressed for time because I'm drowning in other work. But that being said, you are watching JVSCP, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at two entries that I believe are related to each other, but I don't really know. I'm going in extra blind. Veeti has, like always, prepared this for me, so let's just get to it and see what's in store. SCP-882 by Dr. Gears from the SCP Wiki. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-882 is to be kept in a fluid environment at all times, consisting of no less than 40% seawater. Object is to be kept suspended by non-metallic means, currently cotton fiber line that is to be changed daily. Object is also to be checked daily for any signs of rust flaking. If any part of 882 appears uncoated with rust, it must immediately be immersed in a 100% seawater solution. Water must be taken directly from the ocean. Reduce concentration only when the object is again coated in rust. No metal may be placed in containment area. Only organic materials are allowed in containment area, and any contact with 882 requires the use of thick cotton gloves. Any metal making contact with it is to be heat severed, melted down, and kept immersed in 100% seawater in a separate area. Any auditory issues reported by staff must be reported immediately, and affected personnel must submit to a full psychological examination and, depending on results, either transferred to another facility or permanent containment at. Description: SCP-882 appears to be a random assembly of gears, cables, pulleys, screws, and belts, all made of an amalgam of various metals. Object size at time of recovery was approximately 87 cubic meters. Current size is approximately 12 cubic meters. 882 rusts quickly in seawater. No identifiable energy source has been found, but all components will begin to move if not coated in rust. 882 is completely silent at all times, no matter what level of activity 882 reaches. Any metal touching the object will become permanently affixed to it, and over a period of a few days becomes a new part of the object. Organic matter remains unaffected. SCP-882 is extremely resilient, with tensile strength and toughness above those of aircraft-grade titanium alloy by weight, even though its composition appears to be a random alloy of iron, tin, gold, and other metals, some as of yet unidentified. Extreme focused heat must be applied over several hours to cut even a small portion free of the main assembly. Persons remaining in the vicinity of the object for prolonged periods have developed auditory hallucinations while near the object, mainly the sound of grinding and clicking. The sound intensifies and is abated only by throwing metal into the object. Subjects in advanced states of psychosis have thrown themselves into the object, resulting in almost instant death by crushing. The body is often drawn in and impossible to recover. SCP-882 was recovered from a location at the northeast coast of Banks Island. Area was barren of all metal and metallic ore in a 1-mile radius. 882 was found at the geometric center of the area. 882 had become submerged in seawater at the time of discovery. A small town was found nearby, abandoned for several years. 882 was removed and shortly started to flake off rust, causing the varied parts to begin motion. After several accidents, Dr. Gears authorized SCP-2519 to be played on loop, which successfully reduced the object's motion, enabling safe access. 882 was then cut down and contained on site. Note: SCP-882 is not to be brought into the vicinity of SCP-271, or any subject possibly contaminated by SCP-217. Addendum: please read Interview 882-1 for further information. Interview 882-1. Interviewed: Richard Wright. Interviewer: Dr. Gears. Forward: Richard Wright is identified as a survivor from the small community near the initial recovery location of 882.
Begin log.
Please, take a seat. State your name for the record, please. Richard Logan Wright. Everyone calls me Rich, though. Excellent, thank you. Mr. Wright, do you recall the date when you first saw the object in question? God, when was it? I'm not really sure. It was a while ago. Alan found it first, wrecked his boat on it. He told a few of the other fellas about it, said they could sell it for a bundle for scrap. We all thought it was a chunk of a jet or cargo ship. Mm-hmm. At what point did the device start operating? The next day. Damn thing shook off rust like a dog with fleas. Started spinning slow, then sped up. By the time I saw it, it was really running. Jimmy tried to get closer, try and see what was powering it or why it was so quiet, but he slipped. Got a bad cut over his eye and got the hell out of there. Alan seemed kinda off. Kept asking us if we were hearing anything. Miss Parker thought part of it was gold, even tried to jam part of it with a pipe to get at it. That pipe stuck fast and smacked her a good one when the gear it was on spun around. After that, people mostly kept away. Were there any other incidents of people being injured or hearing noises? Not at first. That's the thing, it was so damn quiet. Everyone kind of forgot about it for a while. Alan was keeping it in an old storeroom by the dock. Nobody really went out there much. He started looking bad. Said he couldn't sleep, that he kept hearing that thing grind away. Father Pat started dropping by, tried to talk to him, told him to get rid of it. He was gone for a couple of days, then suddenly the two of them turned up together, happy as clams. Mr. Wright? I'm fine, sorry. So, Father Pat and old Alan show up fresh as daisies. Say they've got the thing figured out. I wasn't paying that much attention. This whole thing had me spooked. Been hearing stuff from the storeroom, grinding and squealing, really quiet. Anyway, they said some damn thing about it being from somewhere else, that God made it. That was it for me, and I left. Did you believe them? What, that it was from God? No, I don't know. I don't really know what to think. This damn machine kept spinning away, no power to it, and eating metal too. That pole Miss Parker hit it with, it turned it into a giant screw shaft. Looked like it had always been there. More people started getting interested, started listening to Alan and Father Pat. Told everyone to bring metal to it. Told them the gears were the voice of God, that it grew louder as we turned away and softer as we brought it offerings. Did you bring metal to it as well? Or spend any extended period of time near the object? You could hear this thing all over town. Got to be folks couldn't even sleep. Just clanking, grinding, screaming at all hours of the night. Giving it metal helped. God damn it, I didn't want to. I know it wasn't God. I never said it was. Everyone else was falling over themselves to make Alan and Father Pat happy. I just wanted some damn sleep. There's not a goddamn thing wrong with that. Subject bangs table with hands is highly upset and breathing heavily. Sir, I will request that you calm yourself. I'm asking questions, not accusing. Please return to your seat. I'm sorry. Over a couple of weeks, everything got fed to that thing. It was just how things were. We were pretty isolated, you know. It's not like we had much else. You'd just make a couple of trips out there to the storehouse and toss any metal you happened to find in. Always seemed to be people there just watching it. It tore a hole in the roof after a while. Father Pat started getting strange, telling us it wasn't enough. I think the noise was getting to him. Said it needed something more meaningful. Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright is silent for 48 seconds. I came in one night because I heard people shouting from the storehouse. Father Pat was leading a prayer to this thing, but it didn't sound like any prayer I knew. People were coming up and he bent over them. They screamed and then he turned to that big mass of metal. I thought he was giving communion until I saw the pliers in his hand. I'm sorry, pliers? He was yanking out people's fillings. He was pulling their fucking teeth and feeding them to that thing. Subject is shouting, appearing highly upset. He started screaming about it not being enough, that it needed more, but there wasn't any more. There was barely any metal left anywhere. Then he pointed at Alan. He said he was hiding metal from the great machine. Alan screamed that he didn't have anything. Father Pat said that he had a metal joint in his hip. Everyone got up at once. Oh God, they grabbed him. Everyone just grabbed him. And he started screaming. He kept screaming and screaming and nobody cared. I saw his arm go in, saw all of his fingers break and pulled the rest of the arm in, and I ran. What could I do? Jesus, I couldn't stop it. There were too many, and that thing was screaming and screaming, and Alan was screaming, and Father Pat. This interview is concluded. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Security, please see Mr. Wright out.
End log.
Closing statement. Mr. Wright attempted suicide shortly after interview. Subject is currently being held on suicide watch and for observation. So I'm not like super knowledgeable about the overarching SCP lore, like all of these different groups of interest and everything, but I'm wondering if this might be an early SCP about the, what's it called? The Church of the Broken God? Is that what it's called? Okay, I did some quick Googling here and I see that Dr. Gears that wrote this one seems to be the originator of the whole Church of the Broken God thing. So maybe this is one of the early ones for that. I bet a lot of you SCP heads out there are screaming at me, but I've just never really dove into any of the longer like lore things, you know? Kind of like the one-off mystery ones. But I really like this one, especially because it had sort of a Lovecraftian vibe to it. And an observation that is often made about Lovecraft and Lovecraftian horror in general is that, you know, kinda the less you know and the less you understand, the spookier it is. And I'm not saying that the extended Church of the Broken God lore in any way takes away from this, because I haven't even read it, so, you know, I can't judge it. But I can't help but wonder if getting more questions answered and getting the lore of this like expanded is something that I would personally want. But again, on the other side, maybe I do, because it was very cool. We're gonna move on to the second one here, and I was thinking that in the note of this one it said that SCP-882 is not to be brought into the vicinity of SCP-271. So why not move on to SCP-271 and see what that one's about? SCP-271 by... I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce this. Noaqiyeum. Luckily it's in text somewhere on screen, so you can see it there. From the SCP Wiki. Object Class. Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-271 is to be stored as long as possible in Containment Unit !12 in on a meter-high stone pedestal 271-01, which will be flooded with water and sealed off in a hollow 5 cm thick sphere, composed of glass saturated with iron. Permanent neodymium magnets will be mounted around the standard-sized room to suspend the sphere in air and repel unwanted intruders. The room will be lined with pyrolytic carbon to contain the magnetic field generated by the magnets. The door to the room is to be left unguarded and disguised as an ordinary janitorial closet, and kept locked by an unobtrusive password box mounted in the wall down the hallway and around the corner that appears to be a thermostat. Dr. VG is to change the password on a monthly basis. All study is to be observation only until further notice. In case of unauthorized access, electromagnets in the room are to be activated by remote to destroy the glass sphere so that recovery may be simplified. Description: SCP-271 is a small disk, composition unknown but metallic in nature, a little more than 4 centimeters in diameter, and engraved with a number of symbols that may or may not represent an unknown alphabet. These symbols are infectious to their environment over time, gradually appearing as if invisibly carved into nearby objects. They are capable of escaping through any hole, however minute, but have been demonstrated to be unable to penetrate non-gaseous fluids. Objects that carry the symbols for a sufficient time begin to be changed on a molecular level to the same material as the SCP. Both the engraving and petrification processes are extremely painful to biotic organisms. The only known method for purging the symbols is the destruction of the object, and it is not possible to do this to SCP-271 itself. At this time, both 271 and 271-01 are thoroughly coated with engraved symbols and seem to swim lightly. Dr. VG and other observers have described them as looking like the far side of a heat wave, or not quite all there. The symbols also appear to have fractalized somewhat. Studies with vision-enhancing equipment have revealed miniature symbols inside and around the larger carvings on both objects. SCP-271 was a previously unknown SCP recently acquired from a shrine belonging to the Church of the Broken God by Mobile Armed Task Force 12 when it was previously stored in a room of its own, which documents note was to be kept sealed until assembly was ready. Documents acquired at the same time suggest that the platform is original on account of the extensive writing on the room in which it was contained. The shrine itself was pulverized. However, due to rapid retaliation by enemy forces, the remnants of MATF-12 were forced to Contact has been re-established, but the nature of the SCP and the enemy seekers prevent easy recovery, and it is currently considered more advisable for the SCP to remain hidden if comparatively unprotected than to attract attention by launching a very expensive recovery mission. MATF-12 has been ordered to conform itself to CU!12. The exclamation mark denoting their atypical existence outside of a secured SCP Foundation area. Addendum. SCP-271 is not to be brought into the presence of SCP-882.
Emergency bulletin.
Reports from other embedded sources indicate that as of the Church is aware of CU!12 and the location of 271 and is planning an imminent assault against the unit. SCP-271 is to be kept out of enemy hands at all costs. CU!12 has been ordered to mobilize and prepare for evacuation. A recovery team is being prepared for immediate deployment under the direction of Agent DuPont. A more detailed report is to follow.
But as far as I can tell, there is no detailed report inside of this SCP entry. Perhaps that is a part of some other entry, or maybe it's a standalone story that could be found on the website. I don't know. If you do, let us know. Put it in the comments below. Sorry again if this video felt a little shorter or a little more stressed. I'm in the middle of working on a video for my main channel, so we kept this one a little bit shorter. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around. Next week, it's time for another chapter of There Is No Anti-Memetics Division. On screen right now you can see the patrons that support this channel. Thank you very much. Extra huge thank you to you guys, and to the rest of you, you should join them so that you could also get an extra huge thank you at the end of every video. See you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.